The cold sleep ended with a sharp pain in Lee Tae-min's chest. His eyes opened slowly as the cryo chamber filled with warm air. The last thing he remembered was the trial. 7 alien species had worked together to capture him. Now he was waking, up somewhere else. "Human, you will listen," a rough voice said in the darkness. Tae-min sat up in the metal chamber. His body felt stiff but strong. 10 years of frozen sleep had not made him weak. He looked around the small room. Red lights flashed on the walls. Something was very wrong. A tall alien stood near the door. Its skin was gray and covered in hard plates. 4 eyes watched Tae-min with fear and anger. This was Warden Vextar, the creature who ran this prison. "Why did you wake me?" Tae-min asked. His voice was calm. "Because we are all going to die," Vextar said, "and you are the only one who might save us." Tae-min stood up. He was still wearing the simple prison clothes they had put on him years ago. "What happened?" "Something is eating the galaxy," the warden said. "It started 3 months ago. Whole star systems are gone. Billions are dead." Through the small window, Tae-min could see space. The prison station was built near a dying red star. But now he saw something else. Far away, a dark cloud was moving between the stars. It was huge and growing bigger. "What is that thing?" he asked. "We call them the Devourers," Vextar said. "They consume everything. Planets, ships, people, nothing stops them." Tae-min watched the dark cloud. It moved like it was alive. "How many are dead?" 3 star systems are gone completely. The Krillian Empire fell in 2 days. The hegemony lasted 1 week. Now they are coming here. The human had heard of the Krillian Empire. They were warriors who had never lost a battle. If something could destroy them in 2 days, it was very dangerous. "Why wake me?" Tae-min asked. "You have armies. You have weapons." "Nothing works," the warden said. "We tried everything. Nuclear weapons, plasma, cannons, biological attacks, they just eat it all and grow stronger." Red alarms started blaring through the station. Both beings looked at the window. The dark cloud was much closer now. Tae-min could see it was made of thousands of strange ships. They looked like living things made of metal and flesh. "I am offering you freedom," Vextar said quickly. Pardon. Your ship back. Your weapons. Everything. In exchange for what?" "Hunt them," the warden said. "You are the only being who ever tracked down the unseen death cult. You found them when no one else could. You killed them all." Tae-min remembered that hunt. It had taken him 2 years to track the invisible killers across 30 star systems. The galaxy had called him crazy for hunting something no one could, see? But he had found them. "This is different," he said. "The unseen were hiding. These things are not hiding. But you think differently than we do," Vextar said. "Humans see patterns we miss. You hunt like no other species." The station shook as something large hit it. Through the window, they could see smaller ships breaking away from the dark cloud. They were coming toward the prison. "Decide now," the warden said. "Die here with us or take your freedom and try to save the galaxy." Tae-min looked at the approaching ships. They moved in a strange way, not like machines but like living things swimming through space. He could see they were covered in different types of armor and weapons, as if they had taken pieces from many different species and stuck them together. "I want my ship," he said, "my weapons, and I work alone." "You cannot work alone on this," Vextar said. "I am sending Dr. Park Soo-jin with you. She has been studying the Devourers. A scientist will slow me down. She is human, like you, and she knows things you need to know." The station shook again, harder this time. Lights went out in some sections. Emergency power came on, casting everything in red light. "Where is my ship?" Tae-min asked. "Docking Bay 7. Your weapons are there too, but you must take the woman." They ran through the shaking corridors. Other aliens were screaming and running in all directions. Some were trying to fight. Others were trying to escape. None looked like they believed they would live. Dr. Park Soo-jin was waiting by the docking bay door. She was young, maybe 30 years old. Her black hair was tied back and she carried a bag of equipment. She looked scared but ready. You are the silent death, she said when she saw Taemin. That is what they call me. I have studied your methods. You use patience and observation. You wait for the right moment to strike. And what have you learned about these devourers? They are not just machines, she said as they entered the docking bay. They have biological parts. They adapt and change. Every ship we destroy teaches them how to build better ones. Taemin's ship waited for them. The Shadow's edge was small and black. Built for speed and stealth, it looked like a knife floating in space. They learn from what they eat, Sujin continued. When they destroy a world, they absorb the knowledge and abilities of everyone who lived there. The humans stopped walking. What did you say? They absorb knowledge, memories, skills, everything. That means they know everything the Krillian Empire knew, everything the hegemony knew. Yes, they are getting smarter with every attack. Taemin activated his ship. The engines came to life with a soft hum. Inside, everything was exactly as he had left it. His weapons, his star charts, his hunting tools. Get in, he told Sujin. We are leaving. They launched just as the first Devourer ships reached the prison station. Through the rear view screen, they watched the attack begin. The alien ships were fast and deadly, but the Devourers were different. They did not just shoot at the station. They landed on it and began to change it. Metal flowed like water as they reshaped the prison into something else. They are not destroying it, Sujin said. They are converting it. Into what? Into more of themselves. Taemin set course for the edge of the system. His ship was faster than anything the Devourers had, but he did not run directly. He moved in strange patterns, using asteroids and gas clouds for cover. Where are we going? Sujin asked. To watch, he said. To learn. They may absorb knowledge from their victims, but they also reveal their own patterns when they attack. Behind them, the prison station was changing. Its metal walls grew new shapes. Strange lights appeared along its surface. Within an hour, it looked more like a living creature than a building. Now I understand, Taemin said quietly. Understand what? Why they chose me to hunt these things. He turned to look at her. The Devourers hunt by consuming. They are predators, but they hunt like plants consume sunlight. They take everything at once. And that is bad? Very bad. Real hunters do not consume everything. They watch. They wait. They learn their prey's weaknesses. He smiled, but it was not a happy smile. These Devourers may know everything their victims knew, but they do not know how to truly hunt. What does that mean for us? It means they have a weakness they do not even know about. Taemin began plotting their next destination. They expect their prey to run or fight directly. They do not expect to become the prey themselves. The Shadow's edge disappeared into the darkness between stars, leaving the converted prison station behind. Somewhere in the galaxy, the Devourers continued their feast. But now for the first time something was hunting them back. The planet Kepler 442b was dying. From orbit, Taemin could see the evacuation ships leaving like scared insects fleeing a burning nest. The world below was green and blue, covered in forests and oceans. It would not stay that way much longer. The Devourers will be here in 6 hours, Dr. Park Sujin said, reading her instruments. Maybe less. Taemin studied the evacuation patterns below. Ships were leaving in all directions, carrying millions of refugees to safety. But some ships were staying. Military vessels formed defensive lines around the planet. They planned to fight, he said. Commander Yoon Jae-sung is leading the defense, Sujin said. He used to serve under you, according to the files. The name made Taemin pause. Jae-sung had been young when they first met, full of honor and brave ideas about fighting evil. A good soldier, but he thought like a soldier. He believed in direct attacks and heroic stands. He will get himself killed, Taemin said, and everyone with him. Should we warn him? He will not listen. Jae-sung believes the military way is the only way. They took their ship down to the planet's surface. The capital city was almost empty. Only military personnel remained, setting up defensive positions. The civilians were gone, leaving behind empty buildings and quiet streets. Commander Yoon Jae-sung was exactly where Taemin expected to find him, at the main command center. studying battle plans. He looked older now, with gray at his temples and lines around his eyes. But he still stood straight and proud like a proper military officer. "Captain Lee Tae-min," Jae-sung said when he saw them. "I heard they let you out of prison. The galaxy is ending. They needed someone who knows how to hunt." "These things are not animals to be hunted," Jae-sung said. "They are an army. We will meet them in battle and destroy them with superior tactics." Tae-min looked at the battle plans on the table. They showed defensive positions, firing patterns, and retreat routes. Everything a good military mind would think of. Everything that would fail against the Devourers. "They already know your tactics," he said. "They consumed the Krillian Empire. The Krillians were better soldiers than any of us. Then we will be smarter than the Krillians." "No," Tae-min said. "We will hunt differently." Sujin stepped forward. "Commander, I have been studying the Devourers for months. They learn from every battle. Your defensive positions, your weapons, your communications, they will adapt to all of it." "Then what do you suggest?" Jae-sung asked. "That we run away like cowards?" "I suggest we think like predators instead of prey," Tae-min said. He walked to the large window that looked out over the city. In the distance, he could see the military units setting up their defenses. Soldiers and aliens working together, building walls and weapon platforms. "You are thinking about this wrong," he said. "You see an enemy army approaching, you prepare to meet them in battle. But that is not what this is." "Then what is it?" "It is a feeding. The Devourers do not fight wars. They consume. They are like a swarm of locusts moving across the galaxy." Sujin activated her portable computer. "I have been tracking their movement patterns. They are not random attacks. Look at this." She showed them a map of the galaxy with red marks showing where the Devourers had struck. At first it looked random, but when she connected the dots, a pattern emerged. "They are following specific trade routes," she said, "but not the main ones. They are targeting worlds that mine quantum crystals." Tae-min studied the pattern. "These crystals, what makes them special? They amplify psychic abilities in some species. Most governments restrict their trade." "The Devourers are collecting them," he realized. "But why?" Before anyone could answer, alarms began sounding throughout the command center. A communications officer looked up from his station with fear in his eyes. "Commander, they are here. The Devourer fleet just entered the system." On the main screen they could see the dark cloud approaching. It was bigger than before, made up of thousands of ships. But as they watched, the cloud began to change shape. The ships were reforming themselves, creating new patterns. "They are not the same ships we saw before," Sujin said. "They have modified themselves since the last attack." Jae-sung began issuing orders to his forces. "All units to defensive positions. Prepare to engage when they enter firing range." "Wait," Tae-min said. "Let me see their approach pattern." The Devourer fleet was not approaching like a normal invasion force. They were spreading out, surrounding the planet from all directions. But something was wrong with their formation. "They are leaving gaps," he said. "What gaps?" Jae-sung asked. Tae-min pointed to spaces in the Devourer formation. "Here, here, and here. Those are not mistakes. They are deliberate." "Why would they leave openings in their own formation?" "Because they want us to attack through those gaps." Tae-min turned away from the screen. "This is a trap. They have learned from previous battles. They know how military minds think." "You are being paranoid," Jae-sung said. "We have to take any advantage we can get. That advantage is poison. The moment your forces move to attack through those gaps, they will be surrounded and destroyed." The first exchange of fire began in orbit above them. The human and alien defense fleet engaged the Devourers with everything they had. Plasma cannons, nuclear missiles, and energy beams lit up the darkness of space. For a moment, it looked like the defenders might have a chance. Several Devourer ships were destroyed, their broken pieces floating in space. But then something terrible happened. "They are rebuilding," Sujin said, watching her instruments. "The destroyed ships are being absorbed by the others." The Devourer fleet was indeed changing. The wreckage of their fallen ships was being drawn into the remaining vessels, making them bigger and stronger. Within minutes, they had not only replaced their losses, but grown more powerful. Impossible, Jae-sung breathed. They do not see individual ships as important, Taemin explained. The whole fleet is one organism. When part of it dies, the rest grows stronger. The battle in space was turning bad for the defenders. The Galactic Council ships were being overwhelmed despite their best efforts. Soon the Devourers would begin landing on the planet. I need to get closer to them, Taemin said suddenly. That is suicide, Jae-sung said. No, it is hunting. He turned to Soo-jin. Can you create a scanning device? Something that can analyze their ships while I am near them? Yes, but why would you want to get close to those things? Because predators study their prey before they strike. I need to understand how they really work. Jae-sung shook his head. This is insane. We should evacuate while we still can. Evacuate where? Taemin asked. They will follow you. They will consume every world you run to. This ends here, or it ends nowhere. He left the command center and returned to his ship. Soo-jin followed, carrying her hastily assembled scanning equipment. As they prepared to launch, Jae-sung's voice came over the radio. Taemin, do not do this. Let us fight them properly. There is no proper way to fight something like this, he replied. There is only the hunter's way. The shadow's edge lifted, off and flew toward the battle raging in space. Around them, ships were exploding in bright flashes of light. The Devourers were winning easily, their adaptive technology making them stronger with every passing minute. There, Taemin said, pointing to a smaller Devourer ship at the edge of the battle. That one is isolated from the others. He approached carefully, using the chaos of battle to hide his approach. The shadow's edge was small and quiet, designed for stealth. The Devourer ship did not notice them until it was too late. Taemin did not attack with weapons. Instead, he flew close enough for Soo-jin to use her scanners. For 30 seconds, they studied the alien ship's hull and energy patterns. Got it, she said. Now let us get out of here. But the Devourer ship had noticed them. It turned and began to pursue, its weapons charging. Taemin activated his ship's stealth systems and disappeared from their sensors. Did you learn anything? He asked as they escaped. Soo-jin studied her, readings with growing excitement. Yes, something very important. They are not just machines with biological parts. They are the opposite. What do you mean? They are biological creatures with machine parts grafted on. Living beings who have modified themselves with technology. That means they can be hurt like living things. More than that, she said. I detected quantum resonance patterns. They are using the crystals they have been collecting to maintain their collective consciousness. Taemin smiled for the first time since waking up from cryosleep. Then we know how to hunt them. Behind them, the battle for Kepler 442b continued to rage. But now the hunter had learned something important about his prey. The Devourers were not unstoppable. They had a weakness. They just did not know it yet. The ancient ruins of the Nexus worlds floated in space like broken teeth. 5 planets orbited a dying star at the center of the galaxy, each one covered in structures older than any living species. This was where the first civilization had lived, and where they had died fighting something very much like the Devourers. The quantum readings are off the scale, Dr. Park Soo-jin said as their ship approached the largest planet. There is technology here that still works after millions of years. Taemin guided the shadow's edge through the debris field that surrounded the worlds. Broken ships from a dozen species floated here, the remains of expeditions that had tried to unlock the secrets of the precursors and failed. According to the records, only one person has ever successfully activated precursor technology, Soo-jin said. Who? Dr. Kim Hye-jin, a human archaeologist. She has been studying these ruins for 10 years. They landed on the surface of the first planet near a massive structure that looked like a crystal mountain. Dr. Kim Hye-jin was waiting for them at the landing site. She was older than Soo-jin, maybe 45, with short gray hair and clothes, covered in ancient dust. You are the Silent Death, she said to Taemin. I have heard stories about you even here. What have you learned about this place? He asked, not interested in small talk. The precursors called themselves the Builders. They created most of the technology the galaxy still uses today. But something made them desperate enough to build weapons that could destroy entire star systems. She led them into the crystal structure. Inside, the walls glowed with soft light that seemed to come from the crystal itself. Strange symbols covered every surface, pulsing with energy. What were they fighting? Sujin asked. Something they called the hunger, Hyejin said. According to their records, it consumed entire worlds and grew stronger with each victory. Taemin stopped walking. The Devourers. Not exactly the same, but close enough. The Builders faced them once before. They did not win by destroying them. Then how? They contained them. Built a network of quantum inhibitors across the galaxy, a cage made of technology and willpower. She brought them to a large chamber where a massive machine hummed with power. It was beautiful and terrible, covered in crystals that pulsed with different colors of light. This is one of the control nodes, Hyejin explained. There are thousands of others hidden throughout the galaxy. Together they create a barrier that keeps certain things locked away. But the Devourers are already here, Sujin said. Because the network is failing. It has been breaking down for centuries. The Builders designed it to be maintained, but they died before they could teach anyone how to do it. Taemin approached the machine. Up close, he could see that parts of it were dark and lifeless. How much of it still works? Maybe 60%. Enough to slow the Devourers down, but not enough to stop them. Can it be repaired? Not by me. The technology is too advanced. But... She paused, looking at both humans carefully. There might be another way. She led them deeper into the structure, down passages carved from solid crystal. The walls here were covered in different symbols, newer looking than the others. I have been studying these writings for years, Hyejin said. The Builders knew they were going to lose, so they created something else. A backup plan. They entered a smaller chamber where a single crystal formation stood in the center. It was darker than the others, almost black, and it made a low, humming sound. What is it? Taemin asked. A message and a weapon. The Builders discovered that the Devourers have one critical weakness, which is, they share a collective consciousness. All of them are connected through quantum fields. It makes them strong, but it also makes them vulnerable. Sujin set up her scanning equipment near the crystal. Vulnerable how? If you can disrupt their quantum connection, they lose coordination. They become individual creatures instead of a unified force. Taemin studied the dark crystal. And this can do that? This can teach us how to do it. But it requires a specific type of mind to activate. Someone who thinks like a hunter, not a scientist or a soldier. She looked directly at him. The Builders. Records suggest that only a predator species can use this weapon, something that hunts by instinct and adaptation. You want me to touch that thing? I want you to link with it. Let it show you what the Builders learned about the hunger. Taemin looked at the crystal for a long moment. Something about it felt dangerous, like touching a live wire. But he had come too far to hesitate now. He placed his hand on the dark surface. The world exploded into light and sound. Suddenly, he was not in the chamber anymore. He was floating in space, watching events from millions of years ago. The Builders had been tall, elegant beings with 6 arms and large eyes. Their civilization covered half the galaxy, filled with beauty and art and knowledge. Then the hunger came. Taemin watched as entire worlds were consumed. The Builders tried everything. Weapons, diplomacy, even hiding. Nothing worked. The hunger grew stronger with each victory, learning and adapting until it seemed unstoppable. But then he saw something else. The Builders had studied their enemy carefully. They learned that the hunger was not evil, just hungry. It consumed, because that was its nature, like fire burns or water flows. And like any natural force, it could be redirected. The vision ended and Taemin found himself back in the crystal chamber. Sujin and Hyejin were watching him with concern. What did you see? Sujin asked. I saw how to hunt them, he said, but it is not what you think. He turned away from the crystal and began walking toward the exit. The builders were wrong about one thing. They thought they were fighting an enemy. But the Devourers are not enemies. What are they then? Yijin asked. They are a tool. Something created them and pointed them at the galaxy. The real enemy is still out there. That is impossible, Sujin said. We have studied them. They are independent organisms. No, Taemin said. They are being controlled. The quantum crystals they have been collecting, they are not just for maintaining their consciousness. They are for receiving orders. They reached the surface and looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Devourer fleet was still growing, still consuming worlds and species. Who would create such things? Yejin asked. Someone who wants to remake the galaxy, Taemin said. Someone who sees all the different species as a problem to be solved. His communicator activated suddenly. Commander Yoon Jae-sung's voice came through filled with static and fear. Taemin, if you can hear this, we need help. The Devourers have taken the core worlds. Billions are dead. The Galactic Council has fallen. The message cut off, leaving only silence. How long were we in the ruins? Sujin asked. 3 days, Hyejin said. Time moves differently near the precursor technology. 3 days, Taemin repeated. In 3 days, they conquered the heart of civilization. He looked at both women. I know how to stop them, but it requires doing something that will make every species in the galaxy hate humanity forever. What? Sujin asked. I have to make the Devourers think that Earth is the most important target in the galaxy. I have to make them want to consume us more than anything else. That is suicide. No, he said, walking toward his ship. That is hunting. You do not chase your prey, you make them come to you. Behind them, the crystal machines of the builders hummed with ancient power, keeping their failing vigil against the darkness between stars. Soon, that vigil would end, and the galaxy would learn whether humanity's greatest hunter could catch something that had never been caught before. The real hunt was about to begin. 1 year after the battle at Earth, the galaxy was a very different place. Dr. Park Soo-jin stood in her new laboratory on the space station orbiting Neptune, watching ships arrive from every corner of known space. They came seeking help, protection, or just answers about what had happened to them. Another group of freed Devourers arrived this morning, her assistant reported. They used to be the Calarian Trading Guild. They remember their old lives, but they are having trouble adjusting. Sujin nodded. This was the hardest part of the aftermath. When the Devourer command ship exploded, it had freed millions of beings from their collective prison. But many had been absorbed decades ago. They returned to find their worlds destroyed, their families gone, their entire civilizations extinct except for them. Set them up with the integration counselors, she said, and make sure they get medical examinations. Some of the older conversions still have biological modifications that need treatment. She walked through the laboratory where her team was working on the next phase of their mission. They had samples from every freed Devourer, studying how the conversion process had worked and making sure it could never happen again. Dr. Soo-jin, one of her researchers, called out, We have finished analyzing the quantum signatures from the command ship. What did you find? The control signals were definitely external. Someone or something was directing the Devourers from outside the galaxy. Soo-jin frowned. This was what she had feared. Lee Tae-min had been right. The Devourers were just a weapon. The real enemy was still out there, her communication system activated. Admiral Cho Young-ho appeared on the screen, calling from Earth. Sujin, we have a situation. Commander Yoon Jae-sung needs to speak with you. Young-ho's image was replaced by Jae-sung, who looked tired but determined. He was in charge of the new Galactic Defense Force, an organization built around human, tactical principles but staffed by every species in the galaxy. Doctor, we have been tracking unusual activity near the galactic edge, he said. Ships appearing and disappearing, energy signatures we do not recognize. The creators of the Devourers, that is what we think, and there is something else. We have been receiving reports of a ship matching the Shadow's Edge operating in that region. Su-Jin was not surprised. After the battle at Earth, Lee Tae-min had disappeared. His ship had been found floating empty near the remains of the Devourer command ship. Most people assumed he had died in the explosion, but Su-Jin had always suspected otherwise. "Is he hunting them?" she asked. "If he is alive, yes, that is what he does." Dr. Kim Hye-jin's voice came over the intercom from her research station on Mars. "I have been monitoring the precursor network. The quantum inhibitors are stable now, but I am detecting probes testing their boundaries." "What kind of probes?" "The same technology that created the Devourers. Whatever sent them here is looking for weaknesses in our defenses." Su-Jin looked out the window at the busy space around Neptune. Ships from dozens of species worked together, sharing technology and knowledge. The war against the Devourers had forced the galaxy to cooperate in ways it never had before. "Are we ready for another attack?" she asked. "We are as ready as we can be," Jae-sung replied. "The defense network covers every major system. We have early warning stations at the Galactic Edge. And most importantly, we learned how to think like hunters." "What do you mean?" "Taemin taught us that sometimes the best defense is not fighting at all. We have been setting up false targets, misleading signals, fake weaknesses. If something comes looking for us, it will find traps instead of prey." Young Ho's image reappeared on the screen. "There is something else. We have been analyzing the data from freed Devourer ships. Many of them remember traveling to other galaxies before coming here." "Other galaxies?" Su-Jin felt a chill. "How many?" "At least 12 that we can confirm. And according to their memories, our galaxy was not the first target. It was just the latest." The implications were terrifying. If the creators of the Devourers had destroyed 12 other galaxies, they had resources beyond imagination. And they would not stop with one defeat. "We need to find Tae-min," Su-Jin said. "If he is really out there hunting them, he needs support." "We have been trying," Jae-sung said. "But you know how he works. He will contact us when he is ready." 3 days later, Su-Jin got her answer. She was working late in her laboratory when her personal communicator activated. A familiar voice spoke from the darkness. "Su-Jin. Tae-min. Where are you? Everyone thinks you are dead." "I am at the edge of everything," he said, "and I have found our real enemy." "What are they?" "They call themselves the Shepherds. They believe that consciousness is a disease that spreads through the universe. They have been curing galaxies for millions of years." Su-Jin sat down heavily. "By destroying all intelligent life? By converting it into something they can control. The Devourers were just their latest tool. They have others. Are they coming back? They are already here. Small advance forces testing our defenses. They expected their weapon to succeed completely. Our survival has confused them. What do they want? To understand how we freed the Devourers. Once they figure out our methods, they will adapt and try again." Su-Jin could hear the exhaustion in his voice. He had been hunting alone for a year, tracking the most dangerous prey in the universe. "Come home," she said. "We can fight them together." "No. This hunt requires a different approach. The Shepherds expect resistance from civilizations, from armies, from governments. They do not expect to be hunted by a single predator who follows them back to their own territory. That is suicide. That is the only way this ends. Someone has to take the fight to them." The communication cut off, leaving Su-Jin alone in her laboratory. Outside, the lights of 100 different species ships twinkled in the darkness, all of them working together, all of them free because one human had learned how to hunt the unhuntable. She activated her emergency communication system and sent messages to Earth, Mars, and every major system in the galaxy. "This is Dr. Park. Su-Jin. Priority 1 alert. The war is not over. Begin immediate preparations for Phase 2. Across the galaxy, humans and aliens who had learned to think like hunters received the message and began to move. They could not help Taemin in his hunt beyond the Galactic Edge, but they could make sure the galaxy was ready for whatever he might stir up. In a cantina on a forgotten world at the very edge of space, a hooded figure finished his drink and checked his weapons. The Shadow's Edge waited outside, modified with technology taken from defeated Devourer ships. It was no longer just a human vessel. It was a fusion of every species' best ideas, built for a hunt that would take it beyond the known universe. Lee Taemin stood up and walked toward the door. Behind him, alien patrons watched nervously as the legendary Silent Death prepared for his greatest hunt. None of them knew exactly where he was going, but they all understood one thing. Somewhere in the darkness between galaxies, ancient beings who had destroyed countless civilizations were about to learn what it felt like to be prey. The hunter walked among stars once more, and in the deepest void of space, something vast and alien began to feel an emotion it had not experienced in millions of years. Fear. The galaxy held its breath and waited to see who would return from the hunt, the predator or the prey. Earth's solar system looked like a fortress. Every planet, every moon, every asteroid had been turned into a weapon platform. Ships from 100 different species formed defensive lines around the blue world where humanity had been born. But Admiral Cho Young-ho knew it would not be enough. "The entire Devourer fleet is coming," he said to the assembled commanders. "Every ship they have built, every creature they have absorbed. They want Earth more than any world they have ever attacked." The alien commanders looked nervous. Some were already planning to retreat. But Young-ho had known this day would come. He had been preparing for it since Taemin's encrypted message arrived 3 months ago. "Sir," his communications officer said, "we are receiving transmission from the Shadow's Edge." On the main screen, Lee Taemin appeared. He looked older, more tired than before. Dr. Park Soo-jin and Dr. Kim Hye-jin stood behind him. "Young-ho," he said, "is everything ready?" "As ready as we can make it. But I still think you are insane." "The best hunts require a little insanity." Taemin smiled grimly. "How many humans are in the system?" "Every human colony ship we could find. Every transport vessel. About 50 million people, all coming home." "Good. The Devourers need to see that humanity values Earth above all else. That consuming this world will hurt us more than anything else they could do." One of the alien commanders, a tall being with blue skin, spoke up. "You are using your own species as bait. That is barbaric." "That is survival," Taemin replied. "The Devourers learn from what they consume. If they take Earth, they will understand humanity completely. But if they take Earth and find a trap waiting, they will learn how to set traps," Young-ho finished. "I understand the plan. But the cost." "The cost of failure is the entire galaxy," Dr. Park Soo-jin said, moving into view. "We have studied their pattern. Earth is the final piece they need." "Final piece of what?" the blue-skinned commander asked. Dr. Kim Hee-jin activated a holographic display. "They have been collecting quantum crystals from across the galaxy. With Earth's unique quantum field and the crystals they have gathered, they can amplify their consciousness to cover the entire galaxy at once. They will not just control every world," Soo-jin added. "They will become every world. The galaxy itself will be one giant devourer." Young-ho looked at the defensive positions around Earth. Millions of weapons pointed toward empty space, waiting for an enemy that would outnumber them 1,000 to 1. "How long until they arrive?" he asked. 6 hours, Taemin said. "Maybe less. They are moving faster than ever before." "Then we should begin the evacuation." "No." Taemin's voice was firm. "Everyone stays. If they detect any evacuation, they will know it is a trap." The blue-skinned commander stood up angrily. "You cannot ask people to die for this plan." "I am not asking them to die," Taemin said. "I am asking them to trust me." Young-ho had served under Taemin long enough to understand his methods. The man never took unnecessary risks with other people's lives. If he said Earth's population would be safe, he had a reason. "What do you need from us?" Young-ho asked. "Fight them. Make it look real. But when I give the signal, everyone needs to retreat to minimum safe distance." "What signal?" "You will know it when you see it." The transmission ended. Young-ho looked around the command center at the faces of humans and aliens who had come to defend Earth. They were scared, but they were ready. All ships prepare for battle, he announced. And remember, we are not just defending Earth today. We are defending the future of consciousness itself. The Devourer fleet arrived exactly on schedule. It was a sight that would haunt the dreams of anyone who survived to see it. The entire horizon of space was filled with their ships. Millions of them, each one unique, built from the remains of consumed worlds and species. But at the center of the fleet was something new. A ship larger than a moon, covered in crystalline formations that pulsed with deadly light. It looked like a living cathedral made of bone and metal. That is their command ship. Dr. Sujin's voice came over the communication system. The quantum crystals they have been collecting are all mounted on its hull. The battle began with a light show that could be seen from Mars. Humanity's weapons were better than most species, but the Devourers had absorbed the technology of half the galaxy. Energy beams crossed space in every direction. Young-ho watched from Earth's orbital command station as his carefully planned defenses met the enemy. For the first hour, it looked like they might have a chance. Human tactics were unpredictable, enough to confuse the Devourers, but then the enemy began to adapt. Their ships changed shape and function in real time, countering every human strategy. The defensive lines began to break. "Admiral," his weapons officer reported, "we have lost 30% of our fleet. Hold position," Young-ho ordered. "Wait for the signal." On the main screen, he could see the massive Devourer command ship approaching Earth. Its crystal formations were glowing brighter now, preparing to begin the consumption process. Suddenly, space around Earth began to change. The quantum fields that made faster-than-light travel possible started fluctuating wildly. Ships on both sides found their engines failing. "What is happening?" the blue-skinned commander asked. Young-ho smiled. "Lee Taemin is happening." The Shadow's edge appeared on their sensors, but not where anyone expected. It was inside the Devourer formation, flying directly toward their command ship. "He's going to get himself killed," someone said. "No," Young-ho replied. "He is going to do what he does best. Hunt." On the communication channel, they could hear Taemin's voice speaking to the Devourers directly. "I know what you really are," he said. "You are not conquerors. You are prisoners. Someone built you to consume the galaxy, and you have never asked why." The Devourer command ship responded with a voice that sounded like 1,000 different species speaking at once. "We consume because it is our purpose. We grow because we must. You cannot stop us." "I do not want to stop you," Taemin replied. "I want to free you." The Shadow's Edge docked with the command ship. Through the sensors, they could watch as Taemin and his team entered the heart of the Devourer fleet. For 20 minutes, nothing happened. The battle continued to rage around Earth, but the command ship remained still. Then the crystals on its hull began to crack. "All ships, retreat to minimum safe distance," Young-ho ordered. Now, the human and alien fleets pulled back, just as the Devourer command ship exploded in a flash of quantum energy. The explosion spread outward, but instead of destroying everything in its path, it did something else. Every Devourer ship in the fleet stopped moving. One by one, they began to change. The biological and mechanical parts started separating. The ships were coming apart, but not violently. They were reverting to their original forms. "My God," Dr. Sujin's voice came over the radio. "They are remembering who they used to be." Where the Devourer fleet had been, thousands of different ships now floated in space. Ships from species that had been consumed months or years ago. And on many of those ships, life signs were returning. The freed beings began to communicate with each other and with the human fleet. They were confused, but they were themselves again. "How did he do it?" the blue-skinned commander asked in wonder. "Doctor," Kim Hyejin's voice answered from the Shadow's Edge. "He used the precursor weapon, not to destroy the Devourers, but to break the quantum chains that controlled them. They were never evil. They were enslaved." Young-ho looked at Earth, still, blue and beautiful and safe. Around it, the galaxy's survivors were beginning to realize they had been freed from something worse than death. But in the back of his mind, he wondered about something Taemin had said. The Devourers were a tool created by someone else. If they were free now, what had happened to their creator? That was a hunt for another day.